Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, we now dive into Season 2 of Konosuba, The Adventures of Spider-Ham. What if Kazuma was Spider-Ham? Season 2, Part 1. Where we last left off with our series, we ended the conclusion of Season 1. In this universe, Kazuma Sato finds himself endeavoring upon the more wacky side of the Spider-Verse mythos, that being in the world of Spider-Ham. After getting into a fight that resulted in him being bitten by radioactive spiders and radioactive pigs, Kazuma now finds himself having the ability to transform into the amazing Spider-Ham. And it's only when he's transformed into Spider-Ham that he has access to the amazing powers of Spider-Man himself. However, despite the victories that came at the end of Season 1, he has his own set of hardships. In this universe, the King Pig, a stand-in for the King Pig, has been wronged by Kazuma, as Kazuma, in the attempts of destroying the Mobile Fortress Destroyer, accidentally blew up the King Pig's mansion. And King Pig, seeking revenge, now has Kazuma thrown into jail, where he must fight for his political life and for his literal. Stay tuned as we now continue the story. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Kazuma found himself in the freezing cold, standing outside the city walls of Axel, alongside Megamine, Aqua, his new friend, cellmate, Howard the Duck, and the prosecutor, Senna. Why were they outside in the cold depths of winter? Well, I guess we should do a little recap of what happened. There was the Mobile Fortress Destroyer. The city was about to be trampled on. Kazuma fought against the Jack-o'-lantern. The Jack-o'-lantern ran off thinking the city was going to be destroyed. Kazuma and friends ended up stopping the Mobile Fortress Destroyer. The Coronatite that powered the damn thing was going to blow the whole town sky high, but they were able to get it teleported away. That was supposed to be the happy ending. Kazuma was hailed as a hero. He gets a big payday. He gets celebrated for his heroic deeds, and he rides off into the sunset. But unfortunately, almost as if it were the cosmic universe, Spider-Man, or in this case Spider-Ham, don't get to have a happy ending. But for Kazuma, he feels as if even if he weren't the spectacular Spider-Ham, he'd still have to deal with this crushing bad luck and misfortune that seemed to follow him wherever he went. No, the King Pig was not too thrilled that his whole mansion had been destroyed. Thankfully, no one was killed, but still, he did not look at Kazuma too fondly. The relationship between King Pig and Kazuma was complicated. Technically speaking, Kazuma was not even a pig human. He was just a human that turned into a pig. But still, King Pig looked at it all the same. And to make matters worse, he had deep pockets. You see, in this world, it wasn't just a matter of being right or wrong. It's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove, or it's about how you can bribe. And King Pig was definitely one for bribing. He was friends with Lord Aldarp, who had connections to the judge. So even when Kazuma was proved innocent, it didn't take much for the public opinion to be swayed. That is, a lot of money and a lot of threatening of kneecaps. And a lot of threats of swimming with the fishes, if you know what I'm saying. Kazuma could feel his neck tightening as the guillotine stood before him. However, darkness would come to his defense, revealing herself as Lalatina Dustinus, and in doing so, would use the favor of her family's good name to get Kazuma a stay of execution. But in the meantime, he still had to pay back all of the debt. not just to the city of Axel for the fight that happened, but also to King Pig himself. That would come to the grand total of 1.2 billion Eris. Well, seeing as how million had turned to billion, Kazuma was going to need all the help he could get. Thankfully, since Kazuma thought that Darkness was feeling generous, he used some of her good name to also get his fellow cellmate, Howard the Duck, out of jail. The reason being is that while the two of them were in there together, they had both come to realize they were kindred spirits in a way. Howard revealed that he too came from another world, although he had the misfortune of being bitten by a cursed duck and turning into a duck. He decided to make the most of it since it did give him some boost in his magical abilities, although unfortunately, unlike Kazuma, he couldn't turn back into a human, so he was just stuck as Howard the Duck. But that wasn't a bad thing. The ladies actually loved the duck. Kazuma tried to figure it out, but Howard would tell him that give him enough time and you'll realize there are some ladies who are into some freaky things. If he strode around in that pig form a lot more, he'd probably get a lot more action. Kazuma was excited at this, but what girl was trying to go out with a guy that had no money, no future, no prospects, and was probably going to be executed at any given moment? Safe to say it was not his day, and to make matters worse, when Aqua and the others were trying to get him out of jail, they ended up waking all of the giant toads that were in hibernation. Even though they had put in Toad Man behind bars, well, now his toads were running free, and they had to deal with them. For Kazuma, it was simple enough. He had the enhanced strength, speed, along with his web abilities, and he was able to fight the toads pretty effectively. Aqua, on the other hand, was useless. Megumin launched an explosion. That was alright, but she was getting eaten in the process. The prosecutor, Senna, well, she got caught up in the crossfire. Howard the Duck was doing his own thing. He was definitely skilled when it came to long-range combat. He was able to take his feathers along with a bow and arrow and use them as his weapon. The feathers that he plucked off of himself would become dense and as hard as steel, and he was definitely a good shot, to say the least. But unfortunately, he couldn't pluck off all of his feathers, otherwise he'd end up being bare and freezing. So Kazuma found himself fighting for their proverbial lives. That was, though, until they were saved from an unexpected ally, a girl who was rather cute and had eyes similar to Megumin. This girl was Yunyun, the daughter of the head of the Crimson Demon clan, the same clan that Megumin held from as well. Of course, despite getting the assist in dealing with the giant man-eating toads, it still didn't sway Senna's opinion of them, especially given Kazuma when he was on the stand and she used her magical lie detector. He had some connections to the Devil King in some way, shape, or form, and that was because he knew Wiz. But how was Wiz doing in the meantime? Well, she was still running her shop, and she had some help from a certain fuzzy, furry friend who had mechanical arms that proved to be of extra benefit, that being Octodoctopus, the mad scientist turned cat with extra mechanical limbs, who believed in the power of science over the puniness and the impunity that was magic. He was not fond of the Devil King's generals, seeing as how he used to work for Verdia, the headless knight that he turned into the jack-o'-lantern. And what was his reward? Being left to die. The jack-o'-lantern just flew off into the distance, not giving any care to the good doctor. He could have been destroyed by that coronatite. But what was worse, he was now stuck working with the most ditziest, stupidest female he had ever met on this world, Wiz. Safe to say his disdain for magic was only second to his disdain for the ditzy shopkeeper, but still, she gave him a warm place to sleep and all the milk he could drink, so for now he would buy his time. But mark his words, One day he would show the true power of science. He would crush this world of puny magic. He would get his revenge on Verdia. He would overthrow the Devil King. And he would get his revenge on that spider ham, Kazuma Sato. But for now, he still had a shop to run, and he was going to run it to the best of his abilities. And honestly, given how dumb Wiz was, she needed all the help she could get. But it didn't really help matters when, on the day that things were running rather slowly, the store became crowded. Kazuma would arrive, along with the likes of Aqua, as well as Megumin also. He was already having a rather irritable day because Yun had been waiting in the shop all day for the other Crimson Demon to arrive. The girls were going on and on about their battles and about going back and forth and settling it once and for all. Hearing everyone talking and being annoying, he finally snapped at his mechanical limbs that were brushing the floor with the broom back and forth, finally snapped it in half as he yelled at everyone to shut up. I mean, seriously, children. He works with children. But that's besides the point. These girls wanted to have a competition. Well, he was going to use science to determine who was the best once and for all. No need to worry about the pathetic and puny limitations of magic. No, he was going to use calculations. He was going to crunch the numbers. He was going to get the facts. One way or another, he would determine who was the best Crimson Demon. Of course, the girls, they ended up resorting to use magic, and they used a crystal ball to see which one of them would have more friends. Although, what the ball revealed was that neither one of them had friends, but instead, they were rather lonely. They were all each other had. The ball revealing so many of their embarrassing secrets, like Yun celebrating her birthday by herself, or Megumin stealing the crust from everyone's lunches from the trash can to have something to eat, or playing chess by yourself, or going fishing by yourself. Honestly, it was truly sad, kind of pathetic. And Megumin, in her, embarrassment, destroyed the magic ball, that causing the doctor to be very irritated as they broke yet another expensive item. Hey there, Auto Doctor Bus. It's... You break it, you buy it. Huh? You heard me. You break it, you buy it. But I didn't break it. She broke it. I don't care. It's going on your tab, pig boy. Tab? But I can't. Look, I don't care what you have to do. But while I'm here, I'm going to be running a clean shop. So I don't care if you have to get out there and sell that bacon. You're going to pay it back. You understand me? Or I will track you down. I will peel that piggy flesh off your bone. I will chop you up and I will turn you into somebody's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and to some woman with a midlife crisis brunch. Do you understand me? Kazuma had truly fallen low. He was riding high, and now he was being threatened of being turned into a meal by a cat. Wiz would tell the cat to calm down, although she agreed it was going to have to go on his tab. Things could not be going from bad to worse. They were going to need to have a come-up eventually. That's when the idea of going into Keel's dungeon came into play. Howard the Duck, in the meantime, was going to be doing some detective work. Although Kazuma wondered what kind of detective work he could possibly do. That's when Howard had to tell him the lowdown. Kazuma, my friend. In this world, it's not about what you know or what you can prove. It's about who you can blackmail. Wait, blackmail? Yeah. King Pig's got a lot of dirty secrets. He hangs out at the succubus bar all the time. All we gotta do is find out one of his dirty little secrets, and if we hang it over his head, then we're gonna get that debt cut in half. I promise you, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You broke me out of jail for a reason, and I won't let you down, buddy. I'm gonna take us to the promised land. I promise you. It's gonna be nothing but orange and blue skies, my friend. Orange and blue skies. We're gonna be rolling in the airs. So much money. Come on, Kazuma. So much money. All of it. Are you sure that's safe? I mean, what if he catches you? Oh, don't worry. I can be very persuasive. While Howard the Duck was going to be doing his investigations, Kazuma in the meantime was going to explore Keel's dungeon. Unfortunately, it could only be him and Aqua since Megumin couldn't go down inside, given the fact that her explosions would do them little to no good. The short, stubby little pig man dressed in red and blue led the way using his enhanced sight. As he walked down through the dark depths of the dungeon, Aqua following close behind, swaying back and forth and being as annoying as always. Although she was good for one thing, that was doing the one goddessy thing she was capable of doing, that being of sending souls onto heaven that had been stuck in the land of the living for far too long. To be honest, it was the only time she even looked like a goddess, but still for Kazuma, he knew better than to give her high hope and praise. While being in Keel's dungeon, they eventually ran into, the namesake of whom the dungeon was named after, that being of the Archbishop himself, Keel, who had sold his soul, turned into a lich, in the pursuit of escaping from the tyranny of a king along with his beloved wife. Although unfortunately she had passed away, and as such, Keel decided that he was waiting for someone who could have the power to exorcise him so he could be reunited with his love once again. And for this moment, it was something that Aqua was happy to do, as she would give the lich the chance to be moved on, allowing him to be reborn in another world where he could be reunited with his love once again. For Kazuma, it made him think about his own life, about everything he'd been through, about how he had gotten this far. But even still, he knew that his journey in this world was far from over. He was still going to have to defeat the Devil King someday, but maybe with this new power that he was given, he could have the chance to do so. Although, in the meantime, Kazuma had other issues to deal with, as he and Aqua would eventually make their way back out of Keel's dungeon with a boatload of treasure that could help pay off some of their debt. They saw that one of their comrades and her pet cat were in trouble. Megumin found herself wrapped around the tail of a monstrous, scorpion-like human man, and Chomosuke was resting in her arms. Kazuma, help me! Megumin, what's wrong? Who the hell is that? I am the Scorpion. I was coming to Keel's dungeon to do my own personal raid, and here I find this annoying, primitive Crimson Demon. I was hoping to use her as a ransom to get the treasure, and it seems you've done the easy work for me, pig boy. Now, here's how this is going to work. You're going to drop that treasure on the ground, and you're going to walk. And once you're a safe distance away, I'll let your friend go. If you try to cross me, the Scorpion would use the stinger part of his tail, edging it towards Megumin's neck. The poison will be lethal enough to kill her. After all, she has a tiny, unrefined body. But I believe that the stinger is big enough, I might just take her whole head off instead. Kazuma became angered as he could feel his rage starting to boil. Yeah, his party could be useless, and they were sometimes idiots, and they were wingnuts, a dingling, knucklehead McSpazatrons, whatever you wanted to call them. But they were his friends, and no one, threatened his friends. Aqua could feel the magic starting to radiate off of Kazuma as he lowered the bags of treasure and held up his hands. You're some real tough guy picking on a little girl like that. Why don't you try picking on someone your own size? What, like you? Oh, come on, I'm just a pig after all. I'm sure I'm nothing that someone as big and as strong as you couldn't handle. Kazuma kept the scorpion talking. He didn't learn much in his past life, but he remembered watching an old TV show with a magician. It was nothing but sleight of hand, but there was always a little trick. Whenever you were trying to pull off an illusion of sorts or a sleight of hand, you always had to make sure that whoever you were trying to fool watched the mouth and not the hands. Kazuma would flick forward his index and middle finger, and in doing so, webbing would shoot quickly towards the scorpion's tail, blocking the tip just long enough as he would lunge down and then shoot forward towards the scorpion, punching him in the gut and causing his tail to uncurl, freeing Megami as she quickly ran towards Aqua's side. Kazuma would duck and dodge the scorpion at every turn, the scorpion using his tail and batting away at Kazuma before taking his claw and attempting to cut him in half. He would cut through a tree trunk instead as they went swinging and fighting all throughout the forest, the scorpion dead on his tracks, attempting to finish him once and for all. Kazuma would swing around the way before punching and kicking the scorpion every which turn, webbing him up to multiple trees to keep him from moving, although his strength was strong enough to break through it. Kazuma knew he had to turn the tables. He could feel this swelling of magic, but he wasn't sure of how to use it. However, off in the distance, he saw what appeared to be a broken wooden hammer. He didn't know why, but he went and grabbed it immediately, just as the scorpion was about to descend upon him. Kazuma gripped the broken wooden hammer, and, almost as if on command, the hammer would start to fix itself. But not only that, it grew larger in size, almost to the point of comedic effect. Kazuma would then dodge the claw of the scorpion before swinging himself into the air, twirling the hammer, and then bashing him on the head. The scorpion would then squish into the ground before springing back up, kind of like an accordion. Kazuma almost felt himself completely drained of magic, but still, the blow was effective. Kazuma saw around the scorpion's head, little stars started to fling around, along with little birds. Oh, look, the stars. Oh. What the? That was like something out of a cartoon. Kazuma, are you okay? Aqua and Megami would check on him to make sure he was alright. He was fine, and the group would get away, thankfully with their treasure in tow, and they would make sure that some guards would be called to pick up the scorpion and take him off to prison where he belonged. But still, Kazuma wondered, what was that power? How was he able to use it? He would look through his guild card. The card would also transform. You see, when Kazuma was in his human form, it would give him a list of all of the powers and abilities he had in his human form. And in his pig form, the card and its writing would transform into that of his pig-like state. He was able to see the powers and abilities that he had, and what he saw glowing in the distance was something called Toon Force. Although it was currently only at a level 5, he didn't have enough skill points to move up to its next evolved state, level 10. He had used up almost all of his magic on Toon Force? Kazuma would look through and read more about the inscription of Toon Force. Toon Force, or the power of the Toon. A power that involves the imagination, making the unrealistic realistic in this world. At its base level, it allows you to turn the tide in battle, taking ordinary and mundane things and sparking them with what's known as imagination magic? What's that? Aqua would explain that Toon Force, or imagination magic, it's basically like the childlike wonder of a young mind. It's taking things that can't happen in real life and bringing them to real life. For example, there was a cartoon, right? It was about this bird that was being chased by this weird, like, fox coyote thing. Well, the bird would display what was known as Toon Force. For example, if he ran into a cliff wall, he could take a bucket of paint and paint over the wall to make it look like a tunnel. Then he would run into the tunnel. But when the coyote tried to do it, he ended up running into a wall that was painted. That was essentially what the power of Toon Force was, being able to affect the world around you in any way you wanted. Of course, this could be done on a small level, or it could be done on a great level. But the problem was you needed so many skill points and a high, and I mean high, level of magic just to pull off the basic of techniques. It took everything out of Kazuma to take an old broken hammer and turn it into a cartoonish hammer that could deal the finishing blow on his enemy. And that zapped him of almost all his strength. Kazuma was left in wonder. This Toon Force, if he could master it, somehow learn how to use it, then maybe it could be what he needed. A power that could turn the tide, a power that could change fate, as he continued on in this new and mysterious world. This concludes Konosuba, The Adventures of Spider-Ham. What if Kazuma was Spider-Ham? Season 1, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Also, if you haven't, make sure you check out all of our uploads from earlier in the week along with our live stream so that you can continue to be entertained and you can catch up on everything else that we have coming out here on the channel. And stay tuned next Monday as we continue Kaguya-sama Love is War, Queen of Thieves. What if Shirogane was Spider-Man? Season 2, Part 2. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.